Hi, I'm going to do a video here on drawing cylinders, and specifically for this particular video, working on drawing ellipses. So anything that's cylindrical as well as symmetrical. This particular one is not exactly symmetrical, but still a lot of interesting things going on regarding ellipses. So it's just a critical thing to practice and learn and understand. You're going to need to have to is getting good at drawing all sorts of different kinds of shapes. Sorry, not shapes. Ellipses of different proportions. Some that are wide and squished. There's a small, wide, squished one, but some that are taller, and everything going from that to a circle, as well as eventually in different orientations too. But I'm just going to stay horizontal for this. So I just kind of have broken it up into one of the ways that I do work on my ellipses, and I'm breaking it down into steps that are sort of repeatable in a way that will just reinforce what the heck is how to do this. This is one way to do them, but I find it pretty helpful. So what I'm going to do first, is just sort of sequentially do each step. If this is my first step, that's my second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 9. 3 rows of 3. Cool. So first, I'm going to make a bunch of, I want to make some rectangles that my ellipse will fit into. And these can be different sizes, but all I'm doing is sketching out the vertical edges of some rectangles that, for my purposes right now, that it's not too tall and not too wide, but that's very subjective. But the reason one of the reasons why I'm breaking this down into sequential steps is that, like most, if not all, of drawing for me, it's not true of everyone, but I come at it from a lighter, sketchy place to a more and more refined place. And the idea of drawing a perfect ellipse like that, that's not even perfect, but it's damn good. Right from the get-go takes a lot more practice than I've done, and my hunch is a lot more practice than you've probably done. So one of the reasons I like doing it in these little steps is that along the way, in each one of these steps, I'm going to make little sort of subtle micro adjustments. That's a new term. No, it's not a new term, but it could be the first time I've ever said it. Along the way, so that I'm adjusting as I go, and because I'm making everything light, it's going to erase quite easily. So I'll keep sort of adjusting as I go. So that's my second step, is just to finish the verticals, then the horizontals. And then I'm going to start breaking this up with midpoints. I try to just guesstimate the midpoint of the horizontals and of the verticals as well. It's going to sort of turn into my targets for when I start drawing the ellipse itself. And maybe even a better way to say that is that these will become the targets for the major and minor axis, which I want to make sure I have pretty well accurate even before I start trying to draw any of the actual ellipse. So my next step is that I'm going to lightly sketch in a short vertical, which is referred to as the minor axis. And then the longer horizontal, which is referred to as the major axis. And once again, I am adjusting as I go. I could tell that one was a little bit too wide. Something like that. Next, I have found that what helps for me is to try to break it down into only trying a half section at a time. And because I'm right-handed, this one seems to be easier for me. So I'll usually just start sketching in that portion of the final ellipse. My effort to make this stay in place, I don't know if it's working. Let's see. It's a tricky angle for me. That was a little better. So just starting to get the idea and sketching that in. Ellipses are a whole thing, so I have other videos on more involved methods, and there's other ways of approaching it, as well. So that's that half, and then I'm gonna do a similar idea for the right side, the right half. And I will say what's important at this stage is to not stop at these endpoints, or really anywhere. I'm trying to keep it somewhat flowy. So that's giving me sort of a general idea of where I want my ellipse to be. See if I can shift this around, make this one a little bit easier. But then I'm going to start trying to sketch in the whole ellipse and just try to get my arm and hand to really kind of get comfortable with this particular ellipse of inside a rectangle of this particular proportions. And again, all the while I'm trying to make sure that I can adjust things in a way that is going to help me make the ellipse that much better. So I could tell that sort of had that this minor axis needed a little shifting. And if it's not already sort of clear that you know, each of these, each half of the ellipse, I would say that right half and this left half, need to be mirror images of each other, as well as the top half and the bottom half. So everything ends up being equal and the same. So starting off with something like this rectangle where you have things set up fairly accurately is really, really helpful. Let's see. So then I'll start really trying to hone in, Woo! That was a fun one. Okay, let's see here. Not the greatest. Oh well. But and then I'm going to really start sort of slowing down and really trying to begin what I'm going to sort of think of as possibly my final marks. Everything up until this point has just been helping me guide me to where I want my final marks. And let's do that for this one. And as I continue to sort of darken things out, especially for an ellipse, I'm going to make this lower edge a bit thicker and darker, which is what's going to cue the viewer to imagine this. One of the things that will cue the viewer to imagine this edge of something like a cup as being closer to me than this edge. There's a lot of other things too, but it's a good initial thing to know. Depending on how perfect I want something to be, or just how, if it's a project that's really going to be a complete drawing. Spend some more time with it. So there you have it. Practice these steps. I like doing them in that sequential way so that by the time I'm getting to needing to actually draw one, I have those steps just sort of already in mind. Gotta stop hitting that with my beanie. So something like that. And like I say, I would spend more time in adjusting this, etc., etc. But check that out as a way to work on drawing your ellipses. And have fun.